Hello and welcome to this exciting tutorial, and today we're creating a responsive website. So if you want to create a website that works on both mobile and desktop view, you don't want to create two separate websites, this is the tutorial for you. So this is the website we're going to be creating, so let's take a look. Alright, so at the top we've got the website header, and then we've got this hero image here, and then we've got our menu. Then we have this three section area, and then we have our footer down there. Now I want you to see how this responds to different sizes of screens. So now I'm using Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, and Mozilla has a neat feature. If you go to Tools, Web Developer, and you go to Responsive Design Mode, and what happens here is that it gives you different screen sizes to see how your website actually looks like on different devices. So you can easily click here to choose select a device that you want, or you could easily just drag the entire website around to see what size, how it looks like on any size. So in this case, let me enlarge it to a certain degree. So as you can see, the website doesn't go beyond a certain point. It sticks to a certain limit of 800 pixels at this point. Now watch carefully as I scroll, as I reduce the size of the screen. Pay particular attention to this menu down here. So as I am scrolling, as I am reducing the size, that menu actually disappears. So the menu is gone now, and we have a smaller menu at the top with a different color. And I also want you to notice the background image on this area. As I increase the size, and you see that the image actually changes to something else. But when I reduce the size, it changes to this seamless grass image. Alright, so this is what we're going to learn to create, and this way you can have the same website represent you on mobile phones and on desktop computers. It's actually pretty easy to do this stuff, so let's dive in right away. Alright, so if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Alright, so how does responsive design actually work? What happens is that you create all the elements that you want to show on your mobile version of the website, and also the ones you want to show on the desktop version of the website. You create them together, and then you tell CSS what to show depending on the screen resolution. Okay? So to demonstrate that, we have to create our own website from scratch. So let's do that just now. Fire up Notepad or any text editor that you wish to use. So to begin, let's start with the HTML tags, our trusty HTML tags. So the opening and the closing HTML tag. So in the interest of saving time, what I'll do is I'll just get what I have already typed, and then I'll explain what everything is. All right, so let me just copy information and paste it here. All right, so this is the opening head tag, and this is the closing head tag. So in here we have the title, opening title tag and closing title tag. Inside it we have the text code written responsive. So let me save this before we go any further. So I'm saving in my videos for some reason. You can save anywhere on your computer. So let me name this one website 2. You can name it anything, but the page itself I have to name as index.html. All right, make sure you're saving as all files, otherwise you're going to save a text document. Okay, save that. So since that is saved, let me actually run it. Let me just go there and run it in Firefox. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to just open that. Alright, so as you can see, nothing yet. We are beginning from scratch. So let's begin. Alright, so the second line here, the first line actually, title, as you can see, it says responsive in the title, so that's what this line actually does. It gives the page a title. Now this line here is very important. You have to copy this line as it is. If you do not do this, the viewport on your mobile version is going to be all screwed up. It'll look funky and weird. So it won't be full screen and it will bounce all over the place. So just do yourself a favor and copy this line. It's very important. It will stretch the content to full size on your mobile version. Now this line here is link href styles.css. So what we are doing here is we don't want to put our CSS styles in this document. We want to put them in another document. So we are referencing the document here. So what this does is that it brings in that CSS document as if it's part of this file. So we've written styles.css because that will be the name of the file. And this describes what it is. So copy this one as well as it is and put it in there. So that's it about that's what we need for the head tag rather. So let's go down and type in the body tag now, the opening body and the closing body tag. So the body contains our content per se. So in here, what I need to do first is to create a div that is a wrapper. Let me give it an ID of wrapper because it wraps everything around it. So this is like the main div that encompasses all the content. So we open and close that div. Now inside that div, I'm going to add a few things in there. So let me just copy what I have here and then I can explain what these are. Right there, okay. So now we have a div here. Excuse me. This is one div here and it's got an ID of main title. And inside it, we have text called my website. This is the title at the top. If you saw our original website, that's the text at the top there. Okay. And then we close that div and then we have another div of small menu. Now, as I said previously, we have to create everything in one space. So this one is the menu we're going to have for our mobile version. So this is a div with an ID of small menu. And then inside it, it's got a link. This is href. There's text here, home, gallery, about us, and contact us. Now, I've only created a link for home just for display purposes. So there's home, gallery, about us, and contact. So these are the buttons in the main menu of the mobile version. Then after that, we have the image. Now this image, we've called it the header. Usually some people call it the hero image or something. So we are displaying this image here. This is how you display an image. Make sure it has an ID of header so we can style it later. Okay, so this image right here is this image right there. Okay, so moving on, we have the big menu. So as you can see, we have both the small menu and the big menu. This big menu is for the desktop version. Now each button of the menu has got a div, is inside a div. Each div is named menu button. This is the ID for each div. Now they all have the same ID because we want one style to style all of them exactly the same. So that's why we have these. So you can copy these right there. Okay, so moving on. Now the next div I'm going to add is the one with an ID of content. Let me do that, ID content. Close that. Sorry, I made a mistake here, like that. And then we have the closing div like that. Okay, then at the very bottom of it, we have the footer. So the footer is important for the feet. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Yeah, okay, so there we are. So inside the footer, we have my website with the @ symbol 2017, all rights reserved. Now, in case you're wondering how to get this @ symbol, just open up your Windows start menu and say, type character. There's this thing called character map. Okay, you open that up and you go to one of these symbols like this one, and you say select and copy, and then you can just come and paste it here. That's how I copy most of these symbols. So let's refresh and see what we have now. So this is what we have: my website, the small menu, the big menu. We have nothing in the content, and then we have the footer. So let's add something. Let's add some content over here in the content div. All right, so now the content we have is actually three divs. As you can see in the original website, there's one div here, 2, 3, these right here inside the content. So that's what we want to add right now. So let's add that. I'm going to name these divs info. Okay, like that. So info. Let me add a closing div over there. But you see, as you can see, the info has got another div inside it for the title right there. So I need to account for that one as well as a div. So let me just do that, and then closing div. Let me change this ID to info header. So this is a div inside another div. Okay, this is the header. So I'll just say header 1. This is header 1. and inside the div itself, outside the header, we're going to have some text like that. Okay, so this is one of the boxes, one of the divs. So let me copy that information and paste it here 3 times because these guys are 3. And that's about it. Wait, let me change this to 2, and let me change the other one to 3 for a bit of variation. I don't like it the way it's wrapping around, so I think I'll do a half 3 like that. All right, so let me refresh the page, and there we have it. It's not looking too funky right now or too awesome. It's a very far stretch from this one, but let's use CSS now. That's the beauty of CSS. Let's use CSS to bring it to life. Now, as you noticed at the beginning, we are referencing an external CSS file, so let's create that file right now. Okay, so let me save this file. This file has to be called styles.css because that's the file we're referencing in our original index. Make sure you save it as all files and hit save. And just like that, we have our style sheet. So let's style these things one by one. Let's start with the wrapper itself. Okay, so let me go to the styles there. So I've already typed some styles in order to save some time. I know you don't want to be here all day, so let me just copy some styles and explain what they're doing. So to start with, we have the body. Now we just type body here as opposed to this one, which has a hash. This one is because we are referencing a tag. We're referencing this body tag as opposed to an ID. Okay, so when we are referencing an ID of a div, that's when we use the hash symbol. But if we're referencing an actual tag, we just type the name of the tag. So here we've changed the font family to Verdana. In case Verdana is not on your system, it will use Tahoma. And then the font size is 12 pixels. Okay, now body space A means, because A is a link, this is the A tag, it means all links in the body will have no text decoration of any kind, and the color will be white. Now text decoration are those you see where a link has an underlining, there's a line below the link, and maybe the link changes to blue and so on. I don't want that, so that's why I put this part. Now the wrapper itself, we want it to have a maximum width of 800 pixels so that it doesn't stretch beyond that, and the minimum width is important for your mobile version. I found that 350 is a good number. You can experiment on that one. And margin auto, so that the wrapper is always in the center of the page. So let's save these things and see if we see any difference. So as you can see, everything has moved to the center right about there. All right, so let's edit the main title right there. So to do that, let me copy some of the CSS that I already made and paste right here. So the main title, all we need to do is increase the font to 18 pixels, center the text, and then add a letter spacing. Each letter should be spaced with 4 pixels so that the title looks a bit bigger and wider, something like that. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing is let's the main menu there. So let's go to the main menu, which is the small menu. That menu at the top is actually the menu for the mobile version. So let's tile that one right now. We called it small menu. So the background color is this one. It's a bit of a blue. So this, as you can see, I'm using the background RGB, which is red, green, blue, represented by these numbers. So you can play around with these numbers to see what color you come up with. Padding of 4 pixels, color white. Okay, so let's see what we get with that. And that's the blue line right there. Now let's style the image. So in order to have these images, we have to have them in the same location as the website itself. So what I will do is go to the old website and copy these 3 images that I used. Their names are important. This top, the first one is header, this one is image, the other one is image 2. So this is very important. So let me paste them there. Now if I refresh the page now, you can see the images are now available, at least one of the images. So I have to style this image because it's exceeding our website itself. Now this image, I named it, I gave it an ID of header. So in the styles, I have to reference it as such. So there is header. I'm telling it to have a width of 100% so that no matter the resolution, it's always at 100% like that. Okay, looking good. So let's style the menu below. Excuse me. The menu for the desktop version. All right. So that one is big menu. That's what we named it. So let me come back here and paste. That's big menu. So we have a background color and a foreground color. So if I refresh, that's what we see. But these actual menu buttons are actual button divs. I want them to look like buttons. So as you remember, in our big menu, we had created divs for each one of these. So I have to style these, and they're called menu button. So let's give them a style as well. So let's go to menu buttons. There are quite a number of styles in here. So I need to do a bit of explaining. Where is this? Where is this? I'm getting lost over here. All right, there we go. Menu button. So let me just cancel a few of these so that I can explain what happens without them. Okay, so the color is white, width of 80 pixels, padding at the top of 10 pixels. The reason is we want to center the text. Without the padding, I'll show you without the padding. And then the background color, there's a white line on the border on the right. And then we align our text in the center. Height is 30 pixels. And then we want it to have a cursor of a pointer like the hand. Okay, so let me refresh that so that you can see. And there we go. The pointer is the hand. And as you can see, the text is too close to the top. So this is why I have this padding at the top to move the text a little bit to the center. Now, the instinct most people have is to have these buttons float. If I go here and actually type float left like that as a demonstration, this is what I get. But what I don't like about float in this case is that the thing disappears here. The whole menu thing disappears, and you see the text is wrapping around this part. This I don't like. There's another way, there's a way to actually deal with this problem, but I don't want to do that. I'd rather show you a different method of doing this, which is you tell it to display the divs as inline. Inline is the display method for text, so it's going to treat these divs as text. Okay, let me remove the block at the end like that, and then we do that. So this is what happens when you display them as text. They go one after another, just like they're floating. But unfortunately, they lose their value, their integrity, their shape. So in order to avoid that, we tell it to keep the block. So it's inline block. When I refresh, nice. But now there's a gap in between here, which I really do not like. So I just use the margin of -2 to get rid of that and refresh, and it's looking good. So let's go to the middle part here. Actually, this is quite complicated. So let's go to the footer so we can get that out of the way immediately. So let me get the text for the footer. And there we go. So the footer has a background color 2020, which is a gray, white color text, padding of 20 pixels. Text is aligned in the center. The height is 80 pixels. So if I refresh, there is our footer. So let's deal with the content right now. This middle part had the ID of content. So let me come back here and paste. All right. So in here, excuse me, we want to use one of the images called image.jpg. So we set this as the background image. And then the minimum height of this one is 200 pixels. I put this there because even without content, I still want it to have at least a height of 200 pixels. The background size, this one is determining the background image. I want the background image to be stretched to 100%, regardless the resolution. So this one is the width, this one is the height, which is automatic. Text alignment in the center, padding 50 pixels. But I'll hide the text align center for now so I can explain something later. Refresh, and there we see the background image and the minimum height of 200 pixels. So now let's style these. Now these inside are these ones we see here. So these ones, we named them info. So let me go back to the styles and get, there's info and info header. Okay, because each one of them has a header div with text. So info is here, maximum width is 170, width 100%, minimum width 130. I don't want them to squish lower than that. So background color, that's the color now. As you can see, this is RGBA. A stands for alpha. So this is the transparency actually. So if I put 1 at the end here, representing the A, it means opaque. If I put 0, it means completely transparent. If I put 0.7, that's 70% transparency. Height of 200 pixels. And let me remove this display inline block. And vertical align top. So margin 4 pixels, color, padding 4 pixels. The header has a background color of an orange, so you can experiment with these colors. There's no alpha here. Color white of the text, padding 4 pixels, margin bottom 10 pixels. Now this margin bottom is to push the text below this header 10 pixels down. So let me refresh and see what we get, and there we are. Looking good. But like the menu buttons, I don't want to use the float instead. Okay, for a simple reason, let me try the float so you see what problems I have with it. Let me say float left. So if I refresh, they float to the left. But unfortunately, I don't like this because they don't look too good on the mobile version unless they're in the center of this page. So to get that centralization, I can't do it with a floating div. It's very difficult. So instead I'll remove the float and instead display inline block like the menu we had done. And then when I refresh, there won't be much of a change, but it's there. Now that they're being treated as text, what I can do is actually tell the content to align its text in the center. Okay, like right there. In this way, it can actually center the divs inside there, which is pretty cool. But a problem comes in sometimes if you have too much text in one of these guys. Let's say if I type a bunch of text in there and then I refresh, what happens is you see this one goes higher than the friends, which is really not cool. When there's too much text in here, it should go lower instead of higher. So to solve this problem, we go to the vertical align and tell it to align the top always. So the top will always be aligned regardless. So like that. Instead, it will bulge at the bottom in case there's too much text. So that's the solution to that. Okay, so let me undo this text that I had put. Okay, so we are pretty much done with the HTML and CSS, and it's looking more like the original, almost. So now we have to make it responsive. All right, so now we want certain things to disappear at 500 pixels, which in this case we regard as the mobile version. So it's up to you to decide at which resolution you want things to appear and disappear. You can have different styles for every single resolution that you can find. It's up to you how much you want the website to be responsive. But in this case, because for the sake of time on this tutorial, we're just going to do at 500 pixels and below, we're going to regard it as a mobile version. 500 and above is the desktop version. So what we want is for the small menu and the big menu to disappear below 500. Okay, so let's try that now. So how you do this is you go to the bottom of the page. Make sure this responsive design stuff is at the bottom. It will save you a lot of headaches. So the magic sentence here is you start with the at symbol, at media space screen and open close bracket, open and close curly bracket. So in here I can write something like max width 500 pixels. Oh, no semicolon there. So you have to type this exactly the same. If you leave out a space here, it's not going to work. So it has to be exactly like this. Now every style you put in here will only apply at 500 pixels and below. Okay, that's very important to remember. So let's add some styles, shall we? Now at 500 and below, what we want is for the big menu to disappear. So what we do is we create a style for big menu. Okay, and in here we tell it to display as none. So it's going to just disappear. So let's try that and see, refresh, and let's keep going until below 500, and you see the menu disappears just like that. So that's how responsive design works. And let's do some more. We want the small menu to disappear above 500. Okay, so in order to do that, let's create another media screen thing for above 500. So to signify above 500, we use min width. Okay, now here we want small menu to display none. Now instead of just having it 500 500, we need to overlap a little bit, otherwise we're going to have, otherwise at 500 both this one and this one would disappear, which is not going to be very good. So we need to overlap a little bit, so I'll say 501 like that, and then I refresh. So as you can see, the mobile version has disappeared, the mobile version menu has disappeared, but as I scroll in, it's replaced. These two swap. This one comes into view, the other one disappears, and the opposite happens on the other side. So that's how you make things appear and disappear depending on the resolution. Now we can do much more. Any parameter that you can add as a CSS style can be changed in this way. So we can do the same with the background image in content here. So now we know that we want that background image to change when big menu is on. So what we do right now, okay, the opposite of when the big menu is on. That is very correct. So the big menu is on in this one, where the small menu is not on. Display is none. So let's add one style here for content. If you get confused with this min max stuff, just try put something in here. If it does the opposite, then shift it to the other side. Okay, so you can put as many of these as you want, depending on, so that for every resolution you want, there's certain styles that you can add in here. It's up to you how many of these you put. So for this one, let me just add the background image. Let's say URL and say image2. It's image2.jpg we want to add at this point, and that's it. Yeah, pretty much. So you see here nothing changes, but as I scroll up, you see the image changes. It's that simple. That's how you do the responsive design website. Okay, so I hope you've learned one or two things from this tutorial. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will get back to them. If you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you next time.